6:37, morning to you, watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
And let's take a look at today's front pages for you now. And the NHS pay deal signals the end to a wave of public sector strikes as unions accept the government's 5% offer. That's according to the Eye.
The Express talking about that deal as well, saying it's a victory for common sense and patience.
Carry on nurse, that's the front of the Sun this morning as NHS staff halt their strike action for hopefully the foreseeable future.
The Times praises the new deal. They call it a fair pay rise.
And joining us this morning is David Mellor, former Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Good morning to you.
Hey.
And Liz Kershaw, who's been with us all morning. Good morning to you both. Brilliant to have you. Liz, let's start with you, shall we, in the FT. It's a story about Chinese green tech. Tell us more.
Yeah, obviously we're all striving to be free of control of our lifestyles, economies, manufacturing, everything. Free from fossil fuels supplied by Russia and every other country whose prices due to cartels are affected by it. And the solution is solar panels, wind turbines. So, a while ago, somebody told me that the very core of a wind turbine is only available from China. There's a component. If you don't get those from China, you can't have a wind turbine.
Why can't we build them somewhere else?
Well, that's what I thought. Anyway, also, solar panels, I knew that a lot of those were made in China and shipped lugged around the world on these huge container ships. So that's energy efficient, isn't it? Anyway, the EU have now said, Brussels has now said that they've got to curb these imports from China, and the West has got to be more self-sufficient. So any company, or any country, with more than a 65% market share will be excluded basically from supply, and they want to de-risk their exposure to China. It's an excellent idea. It's like microchips. I can't order the car that I want because they can't get the chips for those, so they're putting them in superior models which are out of my price range, so huge rangeovers. Anyway, they want to replace dependence on Russian gas for clean energy, but at the same time they've woken up to the fact that they're actually just walking right into the hands of China. So it's a great thing to recognise and say, right, we've got to change this. They've got to rapidly then up production, haven't they?
I think she's very impressive. You'd think she'd come on just to talk about a threat to the future of black pudding on page 26. The Daily Star. There she is. Sounding so knowledgeable. I'm aghast.
David,
I cannot begin to match this.
You are my knight in shining armour. You've come in at stage 3 of the day with your underpants over your trousers and flying into the G to save us all. So thank you.
It needs to be made clear that I came to rescue the situation. That is my role in life.
Yes.
Well, you should have been negotiating with the NHS a lot earlier then, shouldn't you? Because the
It
Times...
was 30 years ago.
Well, indeed, the Times, looking at the deal reached yesterday, unions backing this fair pay rise, according to the Times. Someone's found a magic money tree somewhere.
Yeah, it's quite depressing in a way, although I do think the government, when I was at the bar, my head of chambers was the counsel to the Medical Defence Union, and a stream of negligent doctors came through our chambers and used to win all the cases. He says, it's not because I'm a brilliant advocate, it's because the public do not want to lose confidence in doctors. And I think taking on people in the NHS, it's only going to get you so far. And so what they've got is a perfectly reasonable settlement. We do need to bear in mind, though, and that's why I picked the Times union-back fair, as they call it, raise for 1 million NHS staff. The worry, though, it was always the worry in my day, and is the worry now, is the junior doctors who are very politicised. But at least it's not as exaggerated. When I was Minister of Health, the headlines in the papers were, junior doctor falls asleep over patient on operating table. And I called that a fisherman's tale, so that gave me a few more headlines in the tabloids. And I said, well, look, find me this guy, find me the patient, just tell me, and they couldn't. But I think when you read some of the interviews elsewhere in the papers, it's very politicized. So this ain't done and dusted yet.
No, but does this break the back of it to an extent?
Yes, it breaks the back of it. You see, because at the end of the day, they cannot fight on all fronts. But as you'll see elsewhere in the papers, there's now, for instance, the teachers trying to suggest, because the NHS workers have got a settlement, the teachers want to row in behind. I mean, I'm afraid I'm not convinced that the teachers have as good a case as the NHS workers, and that the teachers somewhat overstate their potency in all of this.
Interesting. If you've got a view on that, love to hear from you this morning. Let's talk pensions, Liz, should we? But not on this side of the channel.
No, well, as I said earlier, to put things into context here in Britain, if you think we've got trouble with industrial disputes and strikes, try going to France on the wrong day. There was on the 7th of March, particularly, there was medical people on strike, teachers, road haulage workers, oil refineries were barricaded, there was no petrol in the petrol stations, trains were on strike, and this is because, and luxury, because our pension age is now, 66, going up to 68 and maybe beyond. In France, it's been 60 for years. And it's now proposed by Emmanuel Macron, the president, that it's increased from 62 to 64, and the French are outraged and very organised. So millions of people have been taken to the streets. Last night there were protests where they used tear gas and water cannons on the public in the Place de la Concorde.
Oh, heck.
My God, give me that again. The
Place de la Concorde.
I mean,
at the bottom of the
music,
Champs-Élysées.
Poetry, the way she says.
Anyway, so they've had a vote in Parliament, the Prime Minister and everything, and Macron is basically saying, if I don't get my vote through Parliament, I'll just use my presidential veto. I'll just override this and I'll bypass Parliament. And now commentators in France are saying, well, that would be the breakdown of democracy. And how do you go back from that?
I don't know. But is this a necessary move? I mean, you can't just keep pension ages low, can you? As much as we'd love to.
But the French have many great assets, and I'm trying to think of them frantically. But the one thing that they do is they don't love hard work, the French, and so the fact that they think that people should better retire at 62, it is a precious gift to them. But Macron is saying that you can't go on running a successful country like that. And, I think I hate to say it, but I think he's probably right.
Right.
And we have to say that he did win his presidency for the second time on this ticket.
Yes.
He said, if I'm re-elected, I'm going to raise the pension age. People were so appalled at the idea of Marine Le Pen becoming the president that it was a kind of protest vote. They weren't voting for Macron, they were voting against her. But he did say, this is what I'm going to do.
And if Marine Le Pen were British, would she speak with a Lancastrian accent, do you think?
I don't know. Where's she from in France? Which part of France?
I
don't know about abroad. You know about abroad.
She's very good on abroad.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what do you know about
abroad?
Abroad. In the Star, David, I never thought I'd say this to a former member of Her Majesty's government. Are you an old fart?
Probably. Certainly my family think I am.
Right. And do you like a little nap?
Actually, do you know what? I don't actually nap. In fact,
do you not?
You see, there you go.
I don't nap. But this is interesting because the Daily Star you go to for the intellectual stimulation that we don't just get from listening to Liz. So old farts are being out-napped by exhausted youngsters, aged 18 to 24. You're probably an old fart, although you're a well-preserved old fart. Anyway, half of Generation Z have at least one nap a day, while 17% of under 24s are so tired they need to doze off twice.
Oh.
This, by the way, is a survey done by a bedding company.
Oh, well, there you go.
okay.
I have to admit, I do like a little nap. I do like
Yes.
a nap, but I am, as you say, ancient, just well preserved.
But you're good at them as well. There's an art to napping.
But does he fall asleep at the
No,
when he's
never at the
doing
wheel.
this?
No, never at the wheel. I've
You're
never
very
slept
good
in the office.
You're very good at going home and getting into bed.
Yes.
So he knows
And having
when and
that.
where not to
Yes.
sleep. I
Yes,
see. I
that's important.
have to say, I can imagine you in one of them big leather chairs. You know, what do they call them? The big
Yes.
chest.
Easy boy recliner.
Yes, what Chester chairs, yes, this is true.
and just and having a little nap.
Well, I have to tell you, one of my prized possessions at home is an 18th century chair that they used to put in drafty halls. So it's all wrapped around and over, and I just sit there, and no one can really see, and I just go,
You see, that's heaven to me.
yeah.
That sounds lovely.
Do you nap, Liz?
I often fall asleep in the evening watching something, and then wake up and think, oh, I missed
Wanted
it.
to watch that?
Yeah.
Well, you're not watching Love Island, then, are you?
I'd love to be on it. I
On
mean,
this middle-aged Love
Right
Island.
on Love Island.
This is Love Island, suggested and devised by Davina McCall, it has to be said. She split up from her long-term husband.
Oh, I see.
And Vanna Love Island thought, wouldn't it be great to have a version with older people who've got real stories to tell?
Well, I think this is so
How
much better.
embarrassing.
And so now they're recruiting.
so much
Now,
better.
you've got to be single.
Well, that would help.
Yeah, and the trouble is that single people in the age group they're looking for, 90% are women, so they're particularly keen on finding
It can't be 90.
personable men to go on with. You've got to have kids, but grown-up kids,
Right.
right? Personable men to go on, and it's not on an island. It's in a mansion. It's called the Romance Retreat, and it'll be on ITV later this year. And they're auditioning now. There are 18 million
That's one to
single
miss.
adults, but they wouldn't have me
Why wouldn't
Why
they
not?
have
Have
you?
you
I think
applied?
you'd be great.
because they.
They have an age limit, do they?
Oh, you
David Miller.
Sorry, did I say something I should?
You've just.
You're a brave man, David
You've
Mellor.
just-
I am. It's been a characteristic of me for many years.
Oh,
Courage.
love it.
You'd
In the
be
face of
a
adversity.
great get for them, Liz.
You should hear some of my stories, which would come out, no doubt. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
Seriously though, would you do it?
I'd do it.
Yeah,
But
you'd be great.
there's always the set, oh, you can't come in here because you're a bit of a face. I'm not, A-list, but like, oh no, you're not just like a member of the... I would love to do it. It'd be such sport.
Snogging someone on camera and all
No,
that.
I wouldn't do that.
You don't need to do that.
I thought that was what happened on that show.
It might be on the Love Island one, but not when they're dealing with more mature people.
All right.
You're a bad influence on an impressionable young man like me.
Yes, that's well said, David. Well said. On that point, we have to leave it there.
No, surely
You
not.
two-
Au revoir, David.
Oh, Lord. I don't know what we've walked into,
There's a
Ellie,
bit
but I
of
think we need to
flirting
get
going on
out.
here, so I really love Island.
Both very much.
Quit while you're ahead.
Yeah.